Building Men is brought to you by Finish the Race Apparel, FTRapparel.com, the creators of all things building men, and by Become Stronger Industries, become-stronger.com, the creators of handmade steel maces, hammers, and other badass equipment.
What's the language? What's my internal dialogue? The most important conversation we'll ever have in our life, guys, is the conversation we have with ourselves. Not with our spouse, not with God. It's a conversation we have with ourselves.
You're listening to the Building Men podcast with Dennis and Anthony Miralda, brothers on a mission
to help you become the strongest version of yourself, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically.
What's up, brother?
We're back again.
All right, long day in studio today. We have a guest that right now I need to pinch myself a little bit that we're talking to our guest today. It's one of those situations where, as we did when we were talking to Sean Casey, a guy that I remember following and watching play baseball. I'm a former college baseball player. It was my sport, and as a big Yankee fan, the guy we're going to be interviewing broke my heart a couple times, and so I remember him, and I heard him on the All-Star podcast. Anthony Trucks is one of my mentors, a guy that we'll be having on the podcast as well. But I heard him on this podcast, and his story was so. Like listening to his story, I was so drawn in thinking about when you have people that are in the limelight, have people that are out there in front of the cameras, you think, oh, they have it made. Everything, their life is perfect. Mm-hmm. They have for me, that was my dream. I wanted to become a Major League Baseball player. They have something you don't have,
so they have everything.
They have everything. And you don't recognize there's not only the pressures that come along with being on stage, having to perform in front of thousands of people on a regular basis, all the demons that exist within you, unless you deal with them, it could come out in some really negative ways. And a lot of the shit that this guy dealt with, wasn't for public consumption. I really had no idea. And thinking about all those things, the way that he communicated on the All-Star podcast, I was like, I need to talk to him because it resonated with me in such a deep way. His level of authenticity, of transparency, and he's just a regular guy. He's a guy that deals with shit like we all do, and he wanted to get better. He had to rebuild himself from a challenging situation, and now he's out there helping men right now. So I wanted to introduce our guest for today. He is former Major League Baseball player, two-time All-Star. He's a coach. He's a mentor. He runs MLBmindset.com. His name is Shea Hillenbrand. Welcome to the Building Men podcast, my man. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me on, guys. This is exciting, man. I'm sorry I played for the Sox, but I didn't get to choose to. Yeah, here we are. So I'm super excited to be able to share with you guys today.
So we were talking to, we had Dan O'Dowd on. He's MLB Insider, MLB Network. He was with the Colorado Rockies at GM for years. Talked to Sean Casey. And for me, before we get into all that deep emotional things that we want to talk to you about as well, I just would love to hear about one or two of those moments in your career that stand out as far as, as they're writing the Shea Hillenbrand story and, the movie's on, on the big screen one day. We just saw the Kurt Warner movie. When the Shea Hillenbrand movie is up there, what are the one or two moments that you're like, damn, that's the fucking moment I want there up on the big screen?
It has to be flying to the All-Star game in 2005 in a Citation 10 private jet. So when you get on top of the world, when you make money, when you have the what you think you have it all in materialistically making 8 figures, all that stuff. Flying to the All-Star game in a Citation 10 jet from Chandler, Arizona to Detroit, Michigan. I was representing the Toronto Blue Jays in the 2005 All-Star game, and I'm flying at 64,000 feet, going 640 miles an hour. A normal commercial airliner goes about 450 miles an hour and flies about 35. So you're big, bad, pimping. I'm on top of the world. Imagine yourself, pilot, co-pilot, yourself, multi-million-dollar 10-passenger jet, going to your childhood dream, getting ready to play in front of hundreds of millions of people in the Midsummer Classic. And I look out the window and I'm like, this is all it is? This is where it's at? Like, I couldn't believe that I was, in the midst of living my childhood dream out, but really didn't know how to navigate that space. That and, hitting that game winner off Mariano Rivera, in 2002, I believe. Yeah, so long ago. The first Red Sox player to ever do that at Fenway Park. I'm rounding first base, and I feel like the ground is shaking. Like, it's crazy just because of what I did. I felt like David beating Goliath, man. Like, nobody hits game winners off Mariano.
Right.
I was in a perfect game. I hit 3 home runs in 3 consecutive innings for the D-backs. There's highlights after highlights. I was in 2 no-hitters behind Derek Lowe and Hideo Nomo, one of my childhood heroes, Hideo Nomo, growing up in LA, a diehard Dodger fan. So I can go on for hours about the experiences of living out being a Major League Baseball player. Super honored to be able to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And I remember that moment very specifically, the home run off of Rivera. And he was a badass. One of those, when we talked to Sean Casey about it, the pitches that having that cutter. Just like real quick about baseball too. Who was the toughest pitcher you ever hit against?
It's funny. I get this question quite frequently. My answer is the same every single time. All of them. All of them. I can't tell you how hard it is to hit major league pitchers in the big leagues. You have one pitch in at bat, if you're lucky, to do something with. And the worst thing to ever do as a hitter that's has some success is you get to a hitter's count, 3-1, 3-2, 2-0, 1-0, and you foul off your pitch. Your pitch that they give you to hit, you foul that off, and you're like, yep, here we go. I'm not going to do anything this at bat. But facing Justin Verlander, 101 mile-an-hour fastball. The guys that really got me is like the Ramiro Mendoza. I remember one time Joe Torre in New York took out Mariano Rivera while mid at bat with me and put in Ramiro Mendoza to face me. That's how my numbers were against Mariano. He threw that cutter from this much, a little bit to like 1 foot, the same pitch every time. But just location is great. But these guys are. I can't tell you enough, guys. Like, it's so difficult to face major league pitchers.
And Mendoza, it was like he just had that sinker, right?
Sinker. Yep.
And I could talk for hours too, just about pitches. I remember like watching Pedro throw the changeup. I was like, how the fuck can someone hit this pitch? It was like a frisbee.
In 2002, I played behind him every start at third base, and I like that question better. Is like, who's the best, the coolest or the best pitcher you ever played behind?
Yeah.
Hands down, Pedro Martinez. I played behind Randy. I played behind Kurt Schilling. I played behind some amazing Hall of Fame pitchers. Hands down, Pedro Martinez. This dude in the clubhouse, we'd have sanitary socks at the time. He'd put it around his head. He had his cut-off shirt. He never worked out. He just did a little bit of shoulder exercise. He never did anything. He's the biggest goofball ever. Like, there's nothing ever straight comes out of Pedro's mouth when he's not pitching. But when he walks between those lines, like, he's like a pit bull. Like, something switches in his mind. He's like, I'm going to kill you, puppy. Let's go. We ride tonight. Come on, I got you. And the energy and everything, like, it's crazy. Like, playing behind Pedro was absolute a true blessing.
And anybody that could grab Don Zimmer and throw him down by his ears and into the ground.
Yeah, and he felt bad about that. But the heat of the moment, man, like, you're just like, screw you guys, you know what I mean? So, it's just playing first base, really cool, too, because when guys get on first base, Jeet would get on first base, and it's like, I'm telling you, him and Cal Ripken, they had the coolest, trippiest eyes ever. They're like electric blue. And I always say, hey, Jeet, I'm not Gabriel, but your eyes are awesome, man. Always on first. Come on, Shea, stop that, man. Dude, that's ridiculous. It's like a fraternity for us. It's not as diehard for us as players because we're like a small fraternity. Yeah, we try to play that role, but, Giambi get on first, Posada, Bernie Williams, A-Rod, what's up, dude? How you doing, man? So it's cool, man.
Did you ever do any funny shit with them at first base besides telling Jeter that his blue eyes were what? Like, did you ever grab anyone's ass?
His eyes are beautiful. Tell guys like Jason Giambi, he wore like suede shoes. His cleats were like pimping. He stunk. It's like, come on, G. Like, clean your shoes up, bro. You stink like crap right now, man. But no, we checking out girls in the stands and be like, hey, did you see that chick over there or whatever? Like, it's seriously, it's just like small talk like we're doing right now. Exactly. Like, when you play every night in a stadium in front of 40,000 people, it's just you become accustomed to it and you just do it, man. There's a lot more stories off the field that we can't share or in the clubhouse, but. No, not at first base, not in the too many stories, but during that at bat that I hit that game winner off Mariano, it was like a 2-1 pitch, and he threw a cutter inside. It was so close it could have been called a ball or strike. But we know as hitters, we know as catchers, we know like if it's going to be, we know it's a ball or a strike. Our eyes are so like in tune to it, but the umpire could have called it either way. So I stepped out of the batter's box, and the umpire called it a ball to make it 2-1. And Posada, if you guys ever see a catcher facing the field, throwing the ball back to the pitcher, and he has his head turned sideways, he had his head turned sideways towards me during that at bat. You could see it. He's cussing out the umpire. Come on, Mariota needs that fucking pitch. Let's go. What the fuck are you doing? This is fucking ridiculous. And I'm sitting out there like, are you serious right now, Posada? Like, I need this pitch. I have no chance right now. So, yeah, that was it. Things like that go on all the time. If you don't physically or visually show up an umpire, they'll let you get away with a lot until you tell him to go F his mother or something like that.
In most professions, that'll get you in trouble when you tell somebody to go F their mother. So what about any I love this. I love the behind the scenes things. It humanizes you in a level where you see these guys on TV and you're like, they're living this lifestyle. But then you're like, yeah, I was on first base and I cut a huge fucking fart in somebody's face, and that's what fucking happens. We're dudes out there playing a sport we love to play. That's the thing about this that I love the most, this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many things that go on in the clubhouse. The first thing that comes to my mind is when you make the All-Star game, the manager of each team, the American League, every time Ichiro Suzuki is in the All-Star game. I hope you guys can bleep some of this stuff out because I don't know if it offends anybody. Just the language. But manager's like, it was Joe Torre 1 year, and I can't remember who was the next year. It was a Red Sox manager. Terry Francona. Okay, guys, congratulations. You're the best in the world. You made the team. This is great. We have all you guys in the clubhouse at one time, probably 35 guys, and the best of the best in the American League. And he's like, go out there, don't get hurt. Make sure you put on a good show, whatever, represent your team, represent your family. And every single time at the end of the speech, the manager's speech, they turn to Ichiro. And they're like, Ichiro, do you have anything to say? And every time Ichiro would stand up and he's like, let's beat these motherfuckers in his Japanese accent. And it was just freaking like, Ichiro, what the hell's wrong with you? He's like, let's go, guys. We got some damage to do.
I love it.
That's so good.
Absolutely tremendous. So as you're in the locker room before the All-Star game, who was the person that you looked around and you're like, holy shit, I'm here with this guy or that guy? Was there that moment where you were on the field with someone that you idolized growing up?
Yes, 100%. But my first year, 2002, was my second year in the big leagues with the Red Sox. I figured it out. I didn't have the sophomore slump, and I was doing fairly good. I never watched TV. I turned on ESPN in June and just flip it on. I have no idea. And they had they're noticing the All-Star ballots for the American League third basemen. They just had to show it up there, and I was winning that. At 26 years old, 5 years removed from junior college that I walked on to. It's like mind blowing. Like, how is this possible? So I was leading for All-Star third basemen for American League, and then Robin Ventura was second. So, growing up watching him, but in that All-Star game in 2002, I was starting. I started at third base. I hit second. Ichiro hit first, and then came to the home plate. And halfway through my minor league career, I got drafted shortstop. I went from first base to third base, and they came to me and said, do you want to catch? And I was like, yeah, I'll learn how to catch. So I became a catcher halfway through my minor league career, and that's what I came to the big leagues as a catcher because I could hit. So obviously, you idolize Mike Piazza. So Mike Piazza played in L.A. He was with the Mets at the time, and I went to home plate for the All-Star game, and just digging in the box, and here's Mike Piazza. Because I always played, like, we're in the different leagues, right? Yeah. I was in the American League, and he was in the National League. So he said, hey, what's up, Shea? Congratulations, man. Good to see you. And I'm thinking, like, how the hell is this even happening right now? Like, Mike Piazza, like, talking to me like it's just like we're equals, you know what I mean? We're going to war against each other. So that experience was really cool. But before the All-Star game that year, I had to have 4 beers in the bathroom in the dugout just to be able to calm my nerves. Like, it's crazy. Like I'm telling you, man, like, being announced and being in front of all those people, like, it's like out of body experience, man. It's just like, it's asinine. It's like, you can't even explain it, man. You go to the hotel room when you check into the All-Star game, and like all of your beds, like bags everywhere of like sponsors and equipment and Adidas. You have your own custom made spikes made for the All-Star game, and like who's there, and everybody's there, and it's just like crazy, man. I can't believe I'm here right now, but just totally awesome experiences, man. Anything you can imagine, it was like that, man. It was insane.
Besides having the 4 beers before the at-bat when you were nervous, did you have any superstitions that you needed to do before every game? You just went out there and played?
See, there's no such thing as superstitions, guys. This is my theory. You don't have superstitions, but what you have to do is, like, the uncluttered mind is systematic, right? So there's a generalized focus and there's a specific focus. Now, but if I place my focus specifically on one thing, so when I dig in the batter's box against Mariano Rivera at Fenway Park with Manny Ramirez on second base, we're down by 1 in the 8th inning. I'm only focusing on 3 things and 3 things only. That's it. Nothing else. When do I start is number 1. At what point in his windup, he's out of the stretch, at what point when he brings his arm up, do I start my swing? Number 2 is instantly switch that to read the pitch. I read the pitch for the location of the pitch to transmit the information from my eyes to my brain. And the third thing is just react. So it's, when do I start? Read the pitch, react. So what does that mean? I need to be in a peak performance mindset state of operation 5 at-bats a night with 5 pitches per at-bat. That's 25 pitches. Then I got 200 and something pitches on the field that I got to be snapped into focus specific so I can perform at the highest level possible. So in order to do that, you have to have systematic processes throughout the day. So I wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning, I go to bed at midnight. But I could tell you verbatim what I did all day long. When I woke up, 2 bottles of water, take my supplements, all the way through, come to the clubhouse, take my wedding ring off, put it in my wallet, put my wallet in my locker, and then I put my shorts on, go to the spa, the jacuzzi. After the jacuzzi for 8 minutes, I come back out, get dressed, put my socks on. You just put stuff on this systematic process every single day so your mind can be snapped into that specific focus, so you don't allow the pressure and the fear and the anxiety and all the fans and all the stuff kick into place to allow it to affect you. So you just go through it all day long. And the person I think about is Nomar Garcia-Paul. But dude drove me nuts, man. Just around the poles, then knocking his feet, but he's doing that to click his mind at a high level of peak performance. So superstitions, I don't believe in that stuff, but what we do is you have to have a systematic process. So like right now, I take out the trash the same way every day. I mow the lawn the same way every day. I make my bed the same way every day. I do my morning routine. I drive my wife nuts. But this is how you get self-confidence. So this podcast is about helping other men, helping kids to be able to go out there to become men, right? So it's like, okay, the way we do that is at the end of the day, I need to complete a task, which is a systematic 4-step process when I'm fielding a ground ball. I field a ground ball with a 4-step process. Guys, you want to know the truth? I have no clue how to field a ground ball, and I was a 2-time All-Star third baseman in the big leagues. 0 clue. I mean, the worst fielder out there. Take the worst, like Manny Ramirez in left field times 10, that's me at third base. How did I do it? I had a 4-step process. The first step was read the ground ball. I read the ground ball for speed, location, and hop. Then I set up for the ground ball. I go right, left, pick it. And then I go, step 3 is right, left, pick up your target. Step 4 is throw it to his first base. So if I do that over like 100,000 times with one specific dialed-in, fine-tuned process, then I can't not. I'd be an idiot if I couldn't field a ground ball in the big leagues, right? Because the turf, the infield surface is amazing. But I can't tell you how many times I fielded a ground ball, a routine ground ball, I'll throw it to first base. You guys can't see it, but in my mind, I'm like, yeah, sweet, got another one there, right? So it's like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. So once I get that task complete, guys, I have a dopamine release, right? I can celebrate that win, and then I have a boost of self-confidence through that process. It's about getting self-confidence, about getting self-worth. It's about getting credibility with yourself on a daily basis. That's what you do. There's no superstition. Sorry, I went on a rant there.
No, it's good. we're gonna pull a session of that and just post that out there because it's a step-by-step systematic process for people to follow along that are trying to achieve something. It's the confidence comes from the reps. The confidence doesn't just come because you're good at something. You need to action.
You're being present in that moment too. You're not allowing yourself to go off on these tangents and start thinking of other things because all you're thinking about is those 3 or 4 things that you need to do in that moment right there to get the job done.
So true. You hit it right on the nose. You're present. You have to be present in the moment. You have to be present with your spouse, your partner. You have to be present with your children. You have to be present. I have to be present right now to rock this podcast to be able to do what I need to do to add value to these guys. I can't just come up here and just BS you guys and thinking about this or that or whatever. But just like hitting a baseball, like I got a PhD in that stuff. It's not a matter of like, there's a little bit of talent. There's a little bit of, it's fast twitch, hand-eye coordination. It's like processors, all that stuff to allow you to have. But it's super simple. And it starts off the batter's tee in the batting cage. I have a 4-step process. Where am I going to hit the ball? Step 1, direction. Step 2, I'm going to look at the ball in the batting cage. See, when you get in the batting cage, when you played, you just try to hit line drives to the back of the cage. Yeah, you want to hit line drives to groove that swing, but how do you do that? You have to be present. You have to ingrain that feel into your nervous system. I call it the file cabinet. And you have to file that feel. So I'm looking step 1, direction. Where am I going to hit the ball? In the batting cage, off a tee, where nobody wants to hit. All these kids nowadays are like, oh, baseball, I'm not going to hit off the tee. I'm too good for that. That is the best tool you can have. So the step 1 is direction. I'm going to hit the ball in the back of the cage. Step 2, I'm going to look at the ball and visualize, because visualization is the #1 tool that we all have in our toolbox that nobody uses. I visualized myself playing on a Major League Baseball field since 8, 9, 10 years old at the top deck of Dodger Stadium, where the rest of my friends were just out there just BSing around. Step 2 of my swing is I'm going to look at the ball and tell myself I'm hitting it to the back of the cage. Step 3, I'm going to start my swing to achieve my load. Step 4, I'm going to feel the movement as I'm looking at the ball, hitting the back of the cage. 1, direction. 2, ball. 3, achieve my load. 4, feel. 1, 2, 3, 4. Direction, ball, achieve my load, feel. Direction, ball, achieve my load, feel. If I can feel that movement, I can make the adjustments needed. If I hit the ball at the top of the cage, I know what it feels like. Just don't make that feeling the same again, right? So it's just ingraining that feel into your nervous system while you train. Confidence, confidence, confidence. I get so bored hitting line drives in a batting cage off a machine. But I can just have my eyes closed, just hit it anywhere. What am I focusing on? When do I start? Read the ball, react. When do I start? Read the ball, react. So you have a 4-step focus. You have a focus formula I call while you train. You have a focus formula while you perform. Once you ingrain those, you're in the moment, you're rocking and rolling, and you're competing only against yourself. It doesn't matter who it is. The reason I say that is because in 2006, I hit 3rd and Barry Bonds hit 4th. And he is the best player that's ever played the game. Shea Hillenbrand's theory or perspective or whatever, like, this guy's insane. It's like, how the hell do I compete with this dude? That's how you do it right there.
I'll tell you, you fucking brought it there, my man. You're like the Ichiro Suzuki of the Building Men podcast. Just diatribe. That's fucking tremendous. All right, so now I want to get into. I love the backstory with the baseball part of it. Like I mentioned, just being able to talk to you on the podcast, watching you at such a high level. As I played college baseball and coached baseball, it was watching you. It was just a joy for me to experience that. For an opposing player, but you went through a situation and you had everything that you dreamed of. You wanted to be a professional baseball player growing up. You achieved what you wanted to achieve, and you mentioned you're in this jet and you're flying. You're like, is this really fucking it? So now talk to us a little bit about your exit from the game. Like, what happened after you achieved what you wanted to achieve and you didn't find that internal validation anymore? Like, talk to us a little bit about that process, Shea.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that. So all along the way, my story kind of starts at 14 years old. Just like so many other kids in their adolescence, there's experiences that we have in our lives, and how we kind of communicate that and interpret that experience to ourselves forms a story. So everything that we do whenever I left Major League Baseball, I was like, what is going on here, man? I was slated to be a $100 million player. I knew I could hit 330 home runs and 100 RBIs every year. First person that comes to my mind is like Adrian Beltre. Like I was that type of player, but I didn't do it. I made $20 million. I made 1/5 of my potential. So that's just like numbers. I don't. The money's irrelevant to me right now. What the thing is like, okay, how did this Shea Hillenbrand? Why did he just reach 1/5 of his potential at the highest peak of his life on top of that mountain of playing Major League Baseball? And what I did is I kind of like reverse engineered everything through my life and everything I went through after I finished playing. So I was that guy that had 2 childhood dreams. When I was in 5th grade, the teacher's like, hey, what do you guys want to do? Hey, pick me. And he's like, all right, Shea, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to play Major League Baseball, and I'm going to own a zoo. And they're like, real funny, man. That's good luck. Have at it. And I was like, what? What do you guys? Yeah, I'm going to do it. So my story that I told myself at 14 when my dad moved us from California to Arizona, without me really knowing, was that I'm not lovable, I'm not good enough, my dad doesn't love me. What I didn't realize is that story formed a perspective and a perception inside of myself that kind of drove pain really a lot of pain. So when I moved from California to Arizona, decided to become an overachiever through athletics, mostly to prove I was worthy enough for my parents' eyes to get their love and admiration and kind of like stuff that a lot of men don't even want to talk about because we have ego, we have pride. That's a sign of weakness if we do that. But what I realized is that that's what drove me to the top. Is like, man, here I go. I'm on the way. Minor leagues, I get drafted by the Boston Red Sox out of junior college. I was the number one baseball player in junior college, Arizona. I was the number one soccer player in high school in Arizona. Get drafted by the Red Sox. I proceeded to tell everybody I get drafted by the White Sox. Don't even know what team I get drafted by because I'm like, I'm going to the big leagues because I want my father's approval. But I didn't know that. But that's what my subconscious system was being trained on a daily basis, and that's my operating system. My internal operating system was like, dude, you're not lovable, you're not good enough. If you just get there, you're going to be able to achieve whatever you want to achieve. In the minor leagues, I became player of the year 3 of the 5 years. Pretty cool stuff. And then I got a chance to become a big leaguer in 2001, and I was on the field in Baltimore, Maryland, starting at third base, and had tears come running down my face. It was like a really internal conflict of how I felt. Here I am on the field in Camden Yard, man. This is insane on ESPN. And then on the inside, I felt pain. I felt disdain. I felt regret. I felt a lot of crap in there. But the pressure to succeed is so great once you become a professional baseball player, working your way to the minor leagues, to the major leagues. The pressure is so great that I lost myself. And when you don't know who you are before you go into what you do, and if you have a high pressure profession as like playing in front of millions of people and failing every single night, it could become kind of like a craziness operating inside of yourself. You begin to not trust yourself. You begin hating the game. You begin hating who you are. You start to run, numb, and flee from all that stuff because you can, right? I'm a god. I can do whatever I want. I had little girls in the stands hold up signs saying, "Will you marry me, Shea?" I do autograph signings for $10,000 an hour. Imagine that. And girls would be coming to the table, teenage girls, preteen girls, crying and shaking just because they got to meet me. And like what they couldn't see is that deep, deep pain, feeling that pain-driven game. And this is something that I want to put a voice to. I'm thinking of AB. What was it? And Tony Brown, the football player the other day, took his shirt off and jersey off, and I get it, I understand it. Everybody's bashing the dude, and it's just like, dude, the struggle is real. So in the prime of my career, I'm sitting on my couch with my firstborn son in my arms, and I try to show love to him. I had everything in the world, but all I ever wanted to be is a dad, just like so many other men out there. My 3 children are adopted, and I have my firstborn son, my pride and joy in my arms, and I couldn't share love with him. I couldn't share love with anybody. All I can connect to is that pain and that guilt and that shame that drove me to the top of, you're not lovable, you're not good enough, your dad doesn't love you. And it sounds cliche, it sounds like, weak, but it's so common with so many men out there that I made a decision proven to be the biggest decision of my life right there with my son in my arms. Not talking to my wife, not talking to my agent, not talking to my parents, not talking to anybody. I quit. I walked away. I walked away from that one childhood dream I had my whole life. I just left. I left $50 million of potential earnings on the table in the prime of my career. I just disappeared. I'm like, I'm just going to come home to be a father to my children, and I'm going to pursue my second childhood dream of owning a zoo. And I did that. I bought a 38-acre horse farm in southern Gilbert, Arizona. And I accumulated 300 farm and exotic animals. I had camels, kangaroos, llamas, alpacas, monkeys, raccoons. I had anything and everything under the moon. I had 800-pound pigs named Taco Bell and Gilbert. I had 3-legged goats. I had blind horse. I had all these animals. I had a vision of rescuing these animals because I love animals way more than baseball. I'm like Steve Irwin, crocodile. Heidi, mate. I just love animals to a passion. I love helping kids out. So I had a vision of rehabilitating these animals with unconditional love that have been abandoned, abused, and neglected, and putting them in a petting zoo environment, and then bring inner city kids out and disabled kids and kids in child crisis situations, and just marry the two together in this petting zoo environment. And the kids will give unconditional love to these animals that they need, and these animals will give, and they'll speak this language of universal love that nobody else can do, because not a word was said there between the animals and the children. And man, the joy I received witnessing my animals transform thousands of children's lives in my community through my nonprofit foundation Against All Odds was just brilliant. It was priceless. It was like you couldn't, anything I ever did in Major League Baseball, you could have Mariano Rivera home run, you could have the Jets, you could have the matches, you could have all that money, all that. What happened at that farm was just mind-blowing. It was just amazing. I'm like, I'm bound to get fulfillment now. I'm bound to get just peace, and bound, like I'm doing so much good to help other people out, but I couldn't help myself. So it led me to about 8 years ago, at 3 o'clock in the morning, I found myself on the floor of a van. And I was actually living in a van 8 years ago that I bought. Imagine that, going from the penthouse to the outhouse, not even the outhouse, to man, I'd make $340,000 every 2 weeks after taxes, flying private jets, multiple matches, 300 pairs of shoes, 6 automobiles, everything I could ever wanted. And it just, that pain, and it just wasn't enough. So I found myself and I overdosed on drugs and alcohol. And the overdose was just to numb that pain. I wasn't a drug addict, and I wasn't an alcoholic. Although I imagine with the extreme stuff that I have, I could probably go there if I needed to, or chose to. But I was laying on the floor of this van 8 years ago, and motionless after overdosing on drugs and alcohol. And my children were inside my ex-wife's house. I was parked outside my ex-wife's house, arm's distance away. And as the soul was leaving the top of my head and I'm clinging onto my last breath, it was crazy, because it's like, here lies a guy that so many people envy. And all I wanted to do is escape my internal world of hell, because I couldn't ask for help. I didn't know how to ask for help, because everybody came to me for help. I've given away over millions of dollars to help people out, and done so many things just to try to run them and flee from that pain myself. And as I'm laying there, I just like, I'm done. Like, I can't, I'm so tired of fighting this pain-driven game that I just let go. I just wanted to escape. I wasn't trying to kill myself, but I had nowhere else to go. Major League Baseball was stripped. The zoo and the farm was stripped. Everything out of my life was stripped. My family, my kids, my money, everything. All I had was myself, and it was disgusting to sit there with just who I was as a person. See, I was able easily to hide behind that veil of Major League Baseball. Oh my gosh, you did this, you did that. But nobody ever knew what really was going on the inside. And I let go. I don't know if I died, if I fell asleep, but the next day, by the grace of God, I woke up and I came to, and it was really eerie because I didn't have any side effects. No stomach ache, no headache, no nausea, no nothing. And the concoction of pills and alcohol I consumed the night before, I should have either been in the hospital or dead, and I wasn't. It was an aha moment. And I said, dude, you gotta go. I did everything I could to kill myself, meaning that I did everything I could to run them and flee from that pain, from those stories and those perspectives that Shea Hillenbrand formed, not anybody else, because we live off of our perspective and our story. Our story is our truth. And the story that I formed in my head was 100% incorrect, but it was something I formed through experiences with my father. So I started crawling. See, when you're in a place of wanting to give up, guys, you're like, you just got to get the momentum going, because momentum is the key to life. Is momentum. It's like, it's an irrefutable truth. We have to gain momentum. A man without progression, a man without a vision will perish. Like, progression is the key to happiness, and we just got to keep momentum going every day. That's what I did playing baseball. But as a person, I was nothing. So I just had to put one foot in front of each other every day, and it hurt. It hurt because I hated who I was. I hated everything about myself. The disdain of, you're a loser. You lost everything. What would your parents think if you left this? What kind of dad would do this to his kids? And my answer to that all the time was, I don't know. I'm nothing if I don't have baseball. That's what we talk about. That's what we talk about with ourselves as Major League Baseball players, as professional athletes, as when we go to bed at night. It's like the majority of us hate who we are because we've sold our soul to the game, and all we focused on and we bet on the performer, not the person. So we're always trying to perfect the performer, but we don't know who we are behind the what. So once I started gaining momentum, I had no idea where I was going to go. I had no idea what I was going to do. I had nothing left in my life but to get up every single day. And through that process, I realized that there is a person deeper underneath who Shea Hillenbrand who really is. It's a person with substance. It's a person with depth. It's a person that cares. It's a person that wants to make an impact. It's a person that had the voice right now. I didn't have this voice when I was playing Major League Baseball, guys. I had no voice. I had the third highest active batting average in Yankee Stadium, behind Paul Konerko, Ichiro Suzuki, Shea Hillenbrand. I had the third best batting average in Yankee Stadium out of Major League Baseball. I remember hitting a go-ahead home run off Mussina in the 7th inning. I'm running back to the dugout, and a fan yells, "Hillenbrand, I still taste your mom's from last night." And I'm like, oh my gosh, dude. I'm like, I'm on ESPN, I'm rocking it, I'm doing it. And then I go to a 5-star restaurant that night with my entourage. I'm dropping $4K on a meal on my credit card. Like, here, I'll pay for it. I could step to the plate in Yankee Stadium, arguably the biggest stage it's the biggest stage in Major League Baseball, but in sports, period. But I couldn't step to the plate at the supper table. I'd almost pee my pants every night at a meal because I was afraid to get up and walk across the restaurant to use the restroom in the restaurant in fear of everybody staring at me because I had no self-worth, no self-confidence as Shea Hillenbrand, the person. So as I gained momentum in my life, guys, I just put one step before everybody. I just woke up every day and I started raising my standards. I started elevating my standards. I started changing my rituals. I started keeping the promises to myself. And when I did that, strategic people came into my life. And when strategic people came into my life, they did 2 things and 2 things only. It's as simple as this. They provided me direction and accountability. That's what we all need, is direction and accountability. And once we did that, you start going to the next level. And I started understanding, like, what's the language? What's my internal dialogue? The most important conversation we'll ever have in our life, guys, is the conversation we have with ourselves. Not with our spouse, not with God. It's the conversation we have with ourselves, because that conversation is the foundation of who we are. The conversation I have with myself, guys, oh, you're a piece of shit. You're a loser. You cheated on your wife. You screwed up your kids. You lost all your money. You cut your parents out of your whole career. You're a horrible friend every single day. And I had to change that. I had to change that and start putting the good in. And then that conversation leads to your belief system. The most powerful force in human nature is for us to stay congruent to what we believe to be true about ourselves. You know what I believed about myself? I had no belief. I'm going to the big leagues and I'm going to crush. Other than that, I don't care what happens. I don't care about friends. I have no values, no nothing. So once I started putting those 3 irrefutable truths in my life as a cornerstone, that's what changed my life. See, we have to do it ourselves. We can have all the resources we want. We have to become resourceful, guys. And I did that and started going and realizing that, you know what, like I'm at that place of service now in my life. Like I had it all. And then I lost everything. I was scrounging up change out of my cup holder just to feed my kids Little Caesars pizza. Like, how do you deal with that as a man? As your kids are going to school, you know, my dad played for the Diamondbacks because I live in Arizona. You know, my dad did this and that. And I'm sitting there like feeling like the biggest piece of crap in the world. So it took that. It took me to get stripped of everything, to have everything away for me to hide behind, to work on Shea Hillenbrand. I had to look myself in the mirror. And I couldn't even look myself in the mirror and say, you know what, dude, you're garbage right now, man. Like, you don't do anything. It's funny because my wife was one of those strategic people that came into my life. We've been married 7 years, and God brought her into my life. And she tells everybody, Shea was fat, bald, and homeless when I met him, and he's not that same person today. And I did that. So now I just want to use my voice. I want to use my gifts. I want to use my talents. I want to use my experiences. I want to use my story to inspire people to go out there and say, dude, I effed up everything in my life, man. And if I'm sitting here in this space with fulfillment, with peace, with joy, with love, I'm in my dream house. I'm with my dream wife. I'm living my dream life, my life. And we're in the process of buying another horse farm right now and pursuing out with everything's being transformed in my life. And it's just like, gosh, you just can't give up. I just can't give up, guys.
I got to tell you, that was probably the deepest dive into vulnerability that we've experienced on this show, and we've 100 and so many episodes in, we've had some guys go really deep and expose some shit from their past and their traumas. That was the deepest dive. So I truly appreciate you going there with us and with our audience and sharing all that shit and the stories that we tell ourselves. You said you're not loved, your father isn't there for you, you're not good enough. That shit, you couldn't mask it with money, with fame, with the farm, with the zoo, with it. The work had to be done inside first for you to fully heal from it. It didn't matter. You could have made $1 million fucking every week. It didn't matter. That wasn't going to cover up that pain. So I know I heard you talking to Anthony Chucks about this, and you say often, what advice would you go back and give yourself at 19, at 20, or whatever? And you said, I don't fucking care. I wouldn't listen anyway. But even though you wouldn't listen to that advice, what did you need to hear? What did you need to hear from yourself, that story you were telling yourself as you were going through all that negative self-talk? You're walking through the restaurant, this guy's a piece of shit, I can't. What did you need to hear? What were the words?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks for asking that. And I always say that with tongue in cheek because that's how I would have been. I was so set on the way I was, but looking back now, like the biggest battles that I ever had were not between the lines. We're not on the field. We're not between the first and ninth inning. The biggest battles I ever had were the internal battles I had with myself. So it's like we have a performer as a person, we have a performer and then we have a person. There's two people right here, right? If you have a profession, you have a job, whatever you're trying to do, you guys have this podcast, you guys are performers, it's your job, it's what you guys like to do. But there's people behind that. And if I would have worked on that person behind the performer, organizations don't deal with that. They didn't deal with that when I played. I didn't have anybody around me. I had a bunch of yes people tell me what I wanted to hear because I'm the one that's controlling paying them. It's just work on yourself. Oprah always says it best. I love her quote. It says, you got to work harder on yourself than you do your job. You're in charge of filling yourself up and keeping yourself full. I mean, I've had 2 failed marriages. I'm on my 3rd marriage, and it's just like, I get it now. I understand it. I can't expect anything from my wife. I got to give. I got to serve. Reciprocity happens that way. I got to give, but I had nothing to give before because I didn't know I didn't have to give because everybody gave to me. I mean, I jump on a flight, and everybody tried to give me free drinks, the flight attendants, because they find out, I'm like, why don't you give the rest of this crowd a free drink because they don't have the money? Why am I getting free drinks when I have the money to buy everything on here? You know what I mean? So it's like you just have everything thrown at you and you have everything and everybody wants something for you. Work on yourself. How do you work on yourself? You have to have mentors. You have to have coaches. I have coaches in my life right now. I have a strength coach. I have a nutritionist. I have a storytelling coach. I have a business coach. I have all kinds of coaches that I have in my life right now. And then you have to give, right? It's like you have to fill yourself up and you have to give. You have to grow and you have to give. The reason why I didn't make $100 million or reach my full potential, whatever, I don't care about the money, is because the person behind the performer. If I would have worked on myself, if I would have understood how to take care of the things to have self-confidence in myself, oh my gosh. I know I'm going to make more money now than I made playing baseball. I'm making a bigger impact now than playing baseball, and it's because I figured out who I am, who I truly am at the core. And when you do that, it puts things in perspective, right? I mean, 2007 is my last year. I still have dreams on a weekly basis about playing baseball. Talking about PTSD, talking about like having to navigate that, suiting up and get ready to go from the dugout, the clubhouse down the dugout for the Red Sox. Like the team, like I still have to deal with that stuff. But just navigating that and understanding that, man, like I'm way bigger than the game. Like what I have, the potential, I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to play Major League Baseball, to create the name and have experiences and experience that platform. But man, life is so much greater than that. So I'm working on yourself in the short term. Sorry, I kind of ramble a lot.
That's good. I need to ask, the moment that you were on the couch with your son, he was an infant, and you made the decision, I didn't talk to my wife, I didn't talk to my agent, and you left the game. If you were to go back, would you make that same decision? Do you have regrets from deciding to leave the game?
No. Yeah, I mean, excuse me. I don't. I personally don't live with regrets. Everything in my life had to transpire to happen to get me to where I'm at now. To equip myself, to set myself apart on this podcast, because there's so many out here that you interview that I know I'm set apart. I know I don't think I'm one bit better than anybody else. I know that my story and my direction and my path, there was times when I left the game, it's just like, oh my gosh, what I'm doing. But now, like, I am so grateful to go through everything I went through, because that just adds more experience in my tool belt to be able to help somebody else out. Because the person I want to help out is that player right now that's left the game, that's got a pistol in his mouth. I've known so many guys that have blown their heads off. I've known people that are just numbing and wanting to flee from that pain. And I want to sit there and say, dude, you think you're one breath away from giving up? You're one breath away from a breakthrough in your life. It's just to switch that perspective that you have with where you are. And I want to be able to help guys like that and help people out there that are in that position. They'll say, dude, let's go. I got your back. Let's do this. Let's switch your perspective, saying, hey, man, we're great close to a breakthrough. Life, there's so much more to life left. If you guys read the news today, Jim Corsi died, 60 years old. I did the Red Sox fantasy camps with him. He was a pitcher. He played for the Yankees a bit, played for the Red Sox, and it breaks my heart. The guy died with a broken heart, just 60 years old. You know, it's just like life's not guaranteed. Tomorrow's not guaranteed, guys. So why not put ourselves on path to go out there and do what we've been called to do? Because I believe all of us have a purpose, and that's to be able to add value and impact other people's lives with the gifts and talents that we have.
Thank you, man. Last emotional question from me is, were you able to reconcile with your father? Was that...
Absolutely. Yeah. And my wife, Kristen, she made me do it. I cut my parents out of my whole career. Like at that All-Star game in 2005, my parents took themselves. I flew with a private jet, pimping jet, had my entourage, and my parents are sitting at the third deck. And I have to live with that every single day. And they're at the third deck telling the security guards and the fans, that's my boy down there playing third base. They're looking at him like, why the hell are you up here? They're like, we don't know. We love him so much. We're just here to support him. And I'm on the field, knowing that my parents are up there in front of hundreds of millions of people. And I'm looking up in between pitches saying, F that guy. Like, that's how disdain, that's how deep, that's how driven my story was. And that was just a generational curse because my dad had challenges with his father. So I sat down and told my parents my story, and my dad started crying. And he's like, dude, we've been trying to tell you this your whole life, Shea. And I said, Dad, you know what? I love you, and you're my role model. And I mean, my perspectives went from like, I want to kill this guy, you know, and it was able to go back. See, guys, you could actually rewrite history. You can't change what happened in history, but you can go back and do the work and peel back the layers of the onion and really do your due diligence and say, you know what? I get it now why my dad did what he did. My dad loved me the very best he could. He struggled with things way greater than what I struggled with. He just didn't know how to communicate that to me. And the way he communicated with me with his actions, man, I took that the wrong way. So I was able to switch that perspective, and it could happen in an instant. And when that happens, guys, you become liberated and you become empowered because that story no longer holds you back. So sitting down and being able to do that, and my father passed away about 4 years ago, and he donated his body to science. And my mom called me at 3 a.m., and my wife and I went over there and to sit with her, and he was there on the floor, deceased for like 3 hours. And when they took him, I reached down and kissed him on the head, and I said, Dad, I'm going to use my voice to impact the world. And that's what I'm doing now. So I made that pact with my father, and it's one of those things where it's just, I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to go out there and do whatever I can, however I can, any way I can, to be able to go out there and just put that light in people's lives and spark their souls to say, dude, we can do this.
Anyone who's listening right now can't help but be fucking motivated listening to your story, my man. Jesus Christ. My last question is, with the zoo that you have going right now, is there a three-legged goat anywhere on property?
No. There's no three-legged goats. I don't have a zoo right now, but we do have horses, and I was in the process of, hopefully by the time this airs, we'll have it. I never thought I'd be where I am. I met my wife at my farm, and she's in the horses, and she's back in the horses, and we're doing that stuff, and she's living her dream. And nope, there's a fat miniature paint donkey though that they can't catch, so he comes with the farm.
Brother, any final questions?
Yeah, man. So first of all, thank you so much. This has just been like. Your story is amazing. It was like bring tears to my eyes when I was listening to you. But out of all the things that you spoke about, what's one thing you could tell the Building Men audience that they could do starting right now to get on a path to go in the right direction in their life? It's loaded on the head.
I call it the 4 A's, right? You have to be aware of where you are right now. Where are you right now? You can't lie to yourself. So you can lie to everybody else. I did that. I did all this stuff. I did everything. I do whatever I want to do. When I put my head in the pillow every night, I had to deal with that. I had to deal with the guilt and the shame and the despair and the disgust of who I was as a person, how I treated people, how I acted, what the things I did. I've been there and done it. I got more stuff that I've done that Canseco put in his book about what other players did in Major League Baseball, right? So it's just the first A is you have to be aware of where you are. Look in the mirror. Where am I right now? For me, at that point in time, I was disgusting. I was a piece of crap. I was scared. I had no self-confidence. I had no self-worth. I talked a big game, but I couldn't act because I was so beaten down. My soul, my spirit, my subconscious system, everything. You have to be aware of where you are. A lot of people do that, but then the second A is you got to accept it. You have to accept where you are. A lot of people try to cover it up and run from it and numb from it. And I'm going to go drink with the boys. I'm going to go binge watch Netflix, or I'm going to go buy stuff on Amazon. I'm going to go jump on porn. I'm going to go do all these things to run them and flee from it because I don't want to accept it. You can't move until you have an acceptance and understanding, a baseline of where you are right now. This is you. This is the battle between you and you. Not between anybody else. You can have other mentors. You can have all the people, resources in the world. It's between you. You have to accept where you are. And so step 3 is you have to take action. For most people, they want to go from step 1 to step 7, step 8. I just want to get here. I want to make $100,000. I want to make $1 million. I want to get this car. I want to get this, whatever this is, whatever the society says we need to do. They want to go from level 1 to level 7. You have to start at level 1. What does level 1 mean? Level 1, for most people, means stop the bleeding. When you wake up, how do you do that, guys? You have to keep the promises to yourself. You got to get credibility with yourself. You got to gain accountability with yourself. So many of us men don't have true accountability with ourselves, and it breaks my heart because we're losing out on opportunities to impact other people's lives. So many of us are in despair right now with COVID, all this stuff, losing jobs, not knowing what's going on. Mental health disease is going up 2,500%. Like marriages are falling apart. People are losing money. It's like, I got to take action. It's to stop the bleeding. How do I do that? If I say I'm going to wake up every single day at 7 o'clock. Wake up. Wake up, dude. If you say you're going to watch what you put in your mouth, I'm going to drink so many water. Instead of 7 beers, I'm going to drink 2 beers. Just do that. And once you do that, you celebrate that win. And that goes into step 4, the 4th A, which is accountability. You got to keep accountability with yourself. You got to celebrate those wins when you do that. You got to do those things. And I'm just going to say I'm going to be present with my wife and my kids for 20 minutes. Nothing. No, I'm just going to be here. I'm going to write it out. I'm going to fight it. I'm going to do everything I can right here for 20 minutes. After that, boom, celebrate that win. And if you don't do it, you got to kick yourself in the ass. Come on, dude. You got to do better than this, Shea. Let's go. You're better than this, bro. You're a bum. 7 years ago, I was sleeping on a couch in subsidized living with my kids with me. I was a bum. That was me. That was nobody else. But I sat the victim role. Victims blame and shame and use excuses. I did that for 7 years. I sat parked. Don't you guys know I was Major League Baseball? Dude, don't you know I hit a game winner off Mariano? Don't you know? I don't give a shit what that was. What are you doing now? Stop shaming yourself. Take the action. Keep your credibility and accountability with yourself. How do we do that? Just gain momentum. Just do little things every single day. I'm telling you, man, if you need to get back in shape, just do little things. Put your damn shoes on and go run the block one day and mark that down as a win. Yes, I did it. No, it's not going to do everything. It's not going to lose 20 pounds. It's not going to put yourself in a position. Have one simple conversation with your wife. When you walk into the house today, like look at your wife in the eyes and say, you know what? I love you. Just that. And mark that up for a win and do the same thing tomorrow. Same thing the next day. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, direction, ball, achieve my load, feel. Direction, ball, achieve my load, feel. Direction, ball, achieve my load, off the tee. Once you do that over and over, you never know. You might find yourself on the field being a 2-time MLB All-Star, playing in front of hundreds of millions of people. I'm an average guy, guys, but I figured it out.
God. Where can the Building Men audience find you, Shea?
SheaHillenbrand.tv or MLBmindset.com. I launched a program. It's an 8-week hybrid coaching program. It's a killer program to be able to integrate everything I learned playing Major League Baseball and afterwards to help accelerate guys to go to the next level. I'm telling you, it's killer. That's MLBmindset.com.
Absolutely tremendous, Shea Hillenbrand. Find the Building Men podcast, building.men on Instagram, buildingmencoach@gmail.com. Our website is buildingmen.io. Check out our sponsors. I'm all hyped up. I'm like, I want to be like fucking
shaking
Suzuki
right now.
in front of the.
Sorry, guys.
No, dude, it's amazing. Check out our sponsors. It's Finish the Race Apparel, FTRapparel.com. All things Building Men are. You can find it there. Become Stronger Industries, makers of handmade badass steel maces. Shea Hillenbrand, it was truly an honor to talk to you today. One of people that I idolized as I was watching on TV. This was a really cool moment for me. Thank you so much. For the Building Men audience, go a step further than you thought you can go. We'll see you next time on Building Men.